Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, who once said that nothing is worse than active ignorance, and he could well have been right. Madam Presidents of our two Toastmasters clubs, distinguished guests and fellow Toastmasters, have you ever found yourself in a situation where you are expected to know the facts of the issue? You did not, yet you refrained from posing that crucial question that would open a pathway towards your understanding of what is involved? Well, haven't we all? This evening, I am going to tell you a story and allow you to decide for yourself about the wisdom of posing the question. Jesse the seaman was returning to his ship. As he approached the dock, he slipped and fell between the dock and the boat side. Just as he was about to hit the water, the boat moved towards the harbor wall, and Jesse would have been crushed to death hadn't it been for the presence of mind of a little man who threw him a rope and hauled him to safety. When Jesse recovered himself, he gasped, "Gee, thanks! You just saved my life. Is there anything I can do for you in return?" The little man hesitated. Then he said, "Oh, well, actually there is. I have always wanted to work on a ship. In fact, I was on my way to look for work when I saw you falling into the water. If you could at all put in a little word for me, I would be so grateful." Jesse, realizing that his task was a small one, jumped for joy and said, "Done." And he took the man in search of his petty officer. The petty officer sat at his desk, and as they entered the room, Jesse shouted, "This man has saved my life. He's looking for work. Can you help him?" The petty officer looked at him and said, "Well, I'm not sure, but I guess I can put in a word to my superior. What does he do?" The little man rocked from heel to toe and said excitedly, "I'm a gloop maker." Now, the petty officer had absolutely no clue as to who or what a gloop maker was, but he refrained from posing that critical question that would open up his understanding. And not wanting to look ignorant in the face of his subordinate, he took the man off to his chief petty officer. As they got there, the petty officer said, "This man has just saved the lives of one of my seamen, and he's looking for work. Is there anything you can help him with? He's a gloop maker." The chief petty officer was taken aback, but not wanting to appear ignorant, he did not pose the question. Instead, he took the little man off in search of the warrant officer, who took him off in search of the sub-lieutenant, right up the chain of command until the request reached the captain. When the captain heard the request, he, of course, was confused, but he refused to look ignorant. So, he simply congratulated the little man for the heroic feat that he had performed and named him ship's gloop maker. He further instructed the supply officer to provide the little man with all the materials necessary so that he can do his work. The little man ordered that a strong block and tackle be affixed to the afterdeck. He requested a stool. He asked for a portable furnace, a hammer and a chisel, a block of iron, some pounds of copper, and several more pounds of silver. And as the ship sailed, he happily set about doing his work. He pulled his stool close to the block of iron, lit his furnace, and began melting the copper and the silver. After much hammering and chiseling, the little man began to decorate the block of iron with blobs of silver and ornamental lines of copper. every single day. Crewmen came by and stared at this wondrously strange thing that was taking place at the ship's stern. Yet nobody asked the gloop maker exactly what he was making. "Coming along nicely," said the captain one day as he was making his daily rounds. "But do you have any idea exactly when it will be ready?" The little man chimed in, "On June 15th at 1400 hours, and I would like the crew assembled on deck at that hour, if you please, sir." And so the day came. The crew assembled on the deck. The little man put down his hammer and his chisel. He stood back proudly and surveyed his work. He instructed that the block and tackle be lowered onto his iron block, onto that masterpiece that he had made, whose decorations of copper and silver shone brilliantly in the afternoon sun. Then he further ordered that it be carefully lifted and swung around so that it stood over the ship's stern, over the sea at the ship's stern. Then, "Ready, steady, go," he said, and he cut it free. And as the iron fell into the dark blue waters of the Atlantic Ocean, it went gloop. Every single crewman stood there in stunned and frustrated silence. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would ask you again, have you considered, should you pose the question or should you not?